What do you think is the worst way a human can die? Steamed alive. It's like getting burned alive, except your nerve endings don't get destroyed, so you get to feel all of it to the end. Or so I've heard. Scaphism or impalement. But by a skilled impaler who can slide that thing in there, missing anything immediately fatal and hoisting you up for days. Modern world? Probably radiation poisoning or rabies. Bonus answer that applies to me, specifically the Nutty Putty Cave incident. In Attila, the author describes a way the Huns would kill an envoy to sow fear and set an example. This predates Vlad the Impaler by like 1,500 years, I think. A sharpened pole would be placed in the victim's anus. Taking care to avoid internal organs, the pole would be pushed through the body along the spine, where it would eventually exit somewhere in the upper back. If done correctly, the victim could live for quite a while. I believe some victims were suspended from this pole like a rotisserie, while others were made to adopt the more traditional body on a pike aesthetic. At the hands of Genghis Khan and his Mongol army. They had some messed up ways to kill people. The Mongols wrapped the three of them in felt rugs, as befitted high-ranking aristocrats, and stuffed them beneath the floorboards of their wooden platform, thereby slowly, but bloodlessly, crushing the men as the Mongols drank and sang through the night on the floor above them. Deaths by escalator are always gory. According to pain studies it's burning, but I'm not sure they were able to study impalement or scaphism. Falling into a slow meat grinder feet first whilst on fire. Completely alone, and unloved. Being eaten by a bear. The cunts don't even have the decency to kill you first. Just pin you down and start eating. And they generally start at the asshole or guts, so you'll be alive for a while watching that thing eat you. Waking up in a coffin, already buried 8 feet deep. There's that illness with no known cure where you die from being unable to sleep. Acute radiation poisoning. It's slow, horrible and unavoidable death. Cartel torture. Rabies. Transporter malfunction. The brazen bull is the first thing that comes to mind. Slowly boiled alive in oil. Like. You're in the pan when it's cool, and it just slowly gets hot to the point of death. Getting the life you dream of, then see it crumble as a snail approaches. Torture from another human, imagine being at the mercy of a sadistic human. Trapped inside a sinking ship. Slowly getting crushed, but never enough to die from getting crushed, but rather dying from starvation hydration whilst this is happening. I'm okay, don't worry. There is a medieval torture techniques that are scary painful. One is about placing rats on the victim chest. You cover the rats so they cannot escape and you heat up the bucket to make them panic. They will eventually escape from the bottom. You are the bottom. Another one is literally skinning the person alive. Make your choice. Honestly suffocating. Having asthma as a kid and parents not worrying about it. The pain is very hard to explain, because you're not dying, but you are struggling to breathe, but it's also very painful in a way. Well, a dude at the truss shop across the street got slowly sucked into a wood chipper this morning. So. Probably that. Being skinned only a few layers around your entire body, enough so that you're alive. Then directly after being placed in a pool of rubbing alcohol or lemon juice. Getting the insides yanked out the anus from the drain at the bottom of a pool looks like a pretty crappy way to go out. I think it was a movie or TV or some shit. Dude was buried in a shitty wood casket with big ass spiders inside. If that was me, I am fighting until you shoot me. Edit can't believe it was hard to find, but it was a movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow. Dude buried alive with a tarantula. Dying from ALS. You slowly lose control of your hands, then arms, then legs, and finally the rest of it, until you're trapped in your own body, fully aware of everything but you can't communicate anything. Can't say if you're in excruciating pain, have a torturous itch, if you're happy, sad, hot, cold, uncomfortable, if you're panicking, want to die, want to live, nothing. All alone with your thoughts. Basically solitary confinement in your own body, that can last for years. Fuck that. Eat 10 alive. I dunno. Personally, I think outliving all of your family and friends and then slowly dying alone from cancer or some other debilitating disease over the course of years in a dirty, dingy care center with lousy underpaid staff would be pretty miserable. The one that terrifies me is that guy in Nutty Putty Cave. I'm claustrophobic, and the idea of being left to die, upside down, in the pitch dark with no way of escape just terrifies me. Also that girl in Eastern Europe who got lost in the city catacombs after a drunken night and wasn't found for several weeks. Her last hours would have been so horribly terrifying. Please, nobody take me cave diving. Dementia, Alzheimer's. Seen it very recently. So sad. Radiation poisoning. Heard about a child molester in prison that was ganged up on. They shoved a PVC pipe up his ass, pushed barbed wire through it, removed the pipe leaving the barbed wire inside, then ripped it out like they were starting a lawnmower. Don't know if that's the worst, but I feel it at least deserves an honorable mention. There's worse, but the blood eagle was a real means of a death sentence carried out by Vikings. The would have the victim lean over something, while the executioner would break through their rib cages from the back, being careful not to hit any organs. They would then reach in and pull the lungs out and place them on the victim's shoulders while they were still alive. The lungs inflating and looking like wings. Pretty gnarly. The guy who died in Nutty Putty Cave. He got lodged upside down in a tiny crevice. They tried to pull him out for 28 hours, but the bottom of his rib cage was stuck under the ledge, and they couldn't get him out. Pure nightmare fuel. Alone and unloved. Fire-related suicide homicide. Imagine someone lighting themselves on fire. Then grabbing you. And then plunging down a 30-story building. Fuck that. My girlfriend died a seemingly terrible death from my POV. She was a bad alcoholic who hid it very well until she couldn't. Her nerves were slowly being destroyed and were firing constantly, leaving her in constant pain for weeks as it slowly crept from her fingertips and toes down into her limbs. I could go on, but I don't want to live it again. Falling into a vat of molten metal. Back in old-timey days where they buried you cause you passed out, then you wake up buried alive. Fun fact, that's how we get the term graveyard shift. They started burying people with a bell attached to them on a string, and someone stayed up all night to watch and listen in case someone woke up. Getting raped and watching them kill your kid or husband before they then kill you. I think Hisashi Ouchi's death from radiation would be the worst way to go out. Burning. I say death by a Mexican cartel and being tortured by them. I seen short clips and damn face with open mouth. Kind of a toss-up between drowning in the middle of the ocean while a shark uses your feet for appetizers, and being set ablaze while hanging from a tree as the town watches. The video of the dude getting eaten alive drowned by a shark has to be up in the top 5-10 at least. Skinned alive or submersed in acid. Maybe Darby's fate in Law-Abiding Citizen. The way the guy died in Nutty Putty Cave. There are 3 ways I do not want to die. Being burned to death, drowning, or being eaten. That being said, I'll probably drown in lava while a dragon eats me. I remember reading about 2 maintenance men who had to repair a warehouse bakery oven and ended up being baked alive because the door accidentally closed. I would say being baked alive in an oven the size of a Costco